everyone, it's me, Ms. McCrone. Thanks for coming back for day 2 in our science lessons all about plant life cycles. So today's video is going to be a little bit longer than usual, but that's only because I really want to review with you some really important vocabulary words. These vocabulary words are going to help you understand all the information you need in order to complete the activities for this lesson. Then we're going to watch 2 videos, and those 2 videos will help you fill out a graphic organizer. And then the last thing we have to do is a Gizmos lab, and I'm not going to do the Gizmos labs with you, but I will show you how to set it up so that you are ready to go all on your own. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get started. The first thing you're going to need to do is log into Nearpod. All of the information you need will be on your Nearpod. So, as you can see, just like last week, we have a code in order to log in. So this week's code is AWXCB. Again, AWXCB. And again, that code should be in the lesson plan. Now, once you're in, a lot of you guys chose to just use your initials last week. Some of you used your first name only. That was perfect. A lot of you guys told me what schools you were coming from. Also perfect. Now, if you put my name in as the name last week, I'm going to need you to switch that up because I can't give you a shout out, even if your work is amazing. If you're not giving me at least your initials or what school you're coming from. Okay, so make sure you're putting in your name or your initials and then the school you go to. So press join session, and that'll take you to our title page. And let's get started with reviewing some vocabulary. So the first word I wanted to review with you is a life cycle. Now, a life cycle is the stages or changes a living thing goes through throughout its life. And we remember from last week that animals are living things, so they go through changes and stages. Well, plants are living things too. So then the next thing you need to understand is exactly what is a plant and how is a plant different from an animal? Well, we know something is a plant because it's a living thing that gets its energy or its food from the sun. So that's how plants are different from animals. Usually, usually animals have to get up and walk around in order to find food. We get hungry, we can get in our cars and go to McDonald's. Well, plants can't get up and move around wherever food is. So they have developed or adapted to actually getting their energy from the sun. The next word I want you to make sure you know is a seed. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have eaten seeds like sunflower seeds, planted seeds either at school or at home. But I really want you to understand how important a seed is to a plant's life cycle. So a seed is the small object that comes from either a flower or a fruit. And it's what actually grows into a new plant. So inside that teeny tiny seed is everything the plant needs in order to start growing. So once the plant has started to grow from the seed, we see 4 important parts of a plant develop throughout its life cycle. So those 4 important parts of a plant that you need to know are the roots, stem, leaf, and flower. So the roots are the part of a plant that grows underground. And the roots have 2 jobs. The first one is to absorb all the water from the ground. And the second job is to hold the plant in place. So think about a really windy day. There's a reason that all the plants don't go flying through the air on a windy day. And that's because all plants have roots that hold them in the ground. The second part of a plant that you need to know is a stem. And a stem is the center or the main structure of the plant. And it sends water and nutrients from the roots up into all the different sections of the plant. So I like to think of the stem as kind of a combination of a straw and an elevator. A straw because it sucks the water up from the roots and sends it to the plants just the same way we use a straw to drink. And then an elevator because an elevator can move up and down in the center of a building and it takes you to whatever part of the building you want to go to. And that's kind of what the stem does with the water from the roots. So the next thing you need to know are leaves. A leaf grows from the stem or the branches of a plant, and they're really important because they absorb all the sunlight and turn it into energy. So there's a reason that all those leaves are usually at the top of trees and bushes and not down at the bottom. And that's because they're trying to collect as much sunlight as possible. The last thing that you really need to know are flowers. And I know we all know what flowers are, but there's a lot more to flowers than making our garden look really, really pretty. So a flower is a part of a plant that grows the seeds and the fruit. And fruit sometimes then will turn into a seed. So they're the reason that seeds are created. Another reason that plants have flowers is that their bright, colorful petals will attract pollinators like birds and bugs. So while I was going over those four key parts, you may have heard me use some words that you may be unfamiliar with. So let's talk about what those words were. The first one is pollen. I know we all have experienced pollen before. It makes our nose itchy and our eyes runny. It may make our head hurt and makes us sneeze. Yes, a lot of us are allergic to pollen, but there's actually a very important reason that pollen exists. Pollen is the yellow, dust-like sticky stuff that forms on the inside of flowers. And the reason it's there is because it causes the flower to create seeds. Now, you may have heard me talk about pollinators, pollinate or pollination. That's when we just take pollen from one flower and move it and mix it with the pollen from another flower. And the reason this is so important is that when these mixtures of pollen happen, it helps create seeds. So the next word is nutrients. You heard me talk about absorbing nutrients from the soil. The roots will take up all the water and nutrients. And that's just basically stuff or substance that all plants and animals need in order to live and grow. So a lot of times we think of nutrients might come from fruits and vegetables, or you might have heard a doctor say you need to drink milk to make your bones strong. Well, that's all forms of nutrients that we need. Plants, on the other hand, need a different type of nutrients. So plants need water and sunlight in order to grow. And that's the nutrients that a plant needs. The next word is attract. And we usually use this word when we're talking about flowers. Flowers attract bugs like bumblebees, butterflies, and birds like hummingbirds. And what that means is they try to bring those things closer or they make them come near them because they need those like bumblebees and butterflies to help spread the pollen around. So attract means to come near or to bring closer. The last word you need to know is absorb. Absorb is when you take something in or you soak it up, a lot like a sponge. And we use the word absorb when we're talking about roots. So the roots sit in the ground and they absorb the water that's inside the soil. Another part of the plant that absorbs something are the leaves. Leaves absorb sunlight. So these words mean, so absorb means to take in and soak up. Now, if you're watching the videos or you come across a part of the lesson and you're not quite sure what these words mean, you can always come back to this page and review the definitions. So the first thing we're going to do to help us understand what a plant is and how it grows throughout its life cycle is watching this first video. This video is going to be all about a seed, and that's because a seed is the start of a plant's life cycle. So pay close attention because there's some really cool facts that this video shares with us about how a seed becomes a plant. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's start watching.
Oh, hey guys, Squeaks and I are checking out our plants and they look great. It's almost hard to believe that these beautiful flowers and plants came from the teeny tiny seeds we put in the pots just a few weeks ago. You might be familiar with the little packets of seeds that you use to grow flowers or vegetables in your garden, or maybe the sunflower seeds that you find in your snack mix. But did you know that popcorn kernels, beans, peas, acorns, and rice are also seeds? Well, one of our friends, 5-year-old Dimitri, wrote in to ask us, how does a seed grow into a plant? Thanks for asking, Dimitri. First of all, seeds come in lots of different shapes and sizes, but they're all made of 3 parts. An outer shell called the seed coat, a tiny baby plant that's inside the seed called the embryo, and some plant food for the embryo called endosperm. The seed coat has an important job. It covers the entire seed, protecting the little baby plant inside and keeping it from drying out. The seed coat also has super sensing powers. It has special chemicals in it that can tell when the seed is in the right place to start growing. For example, the sunflower seeds and the pumpkin seeds in your trail mix sense that it's not safe to grow. After all, seeds can't grow when they're surrounded by raisins and chocolate chips. So while the seeds are in a bag or in your hands, it's like they're asleep. The seeds are still alive, but they're dormant or inactive. Some seeds can stay like this for hundreds or even thousands of years. Great question, Squeaks. To get started, every seed needs water, the right temperature, and the right amount of light. Once the seed has these 3 things, like when it's planted in some nice wet soil, the embryo, or baby plant, gets the signal to start growing. For plants, this growing process is called germination. First, the seed coat lets some water through to the embryo, but the embryo needs more than just water if it's going to grow. Good thing there's a whole bunch of plant food right there inside the seed. Until the plant can make its own food from sunlight, which it will need leaves to do, it relies on the endosperm for energy. It's like the little baby plant has its own backpack of snacks. So the embryo keeps growing and taking in more water until the seed coat cracks open and the embryo kicks out a kind of a foot. But not at all like my foot. The first part of the plant to come out of the seed is the root. The root always grows downward, no matter what way the seed is planted. A seed can actually tell which way is up and which way is down. So the root pushes down deeper and deeper into the soil, looking for more water and minerals to feed the baby plant. Once the plant is all grown up, those deep roots will have another job. They'll help keep the plant from falling over or blowing away in the wind. But soon after the first baby root finds its way into the dirt, another part of the seed pops out, this time in the opposite direction. A shoot, which has the stem of the plant and a few leaves, pushes its way up towards the sunlight. Once the shoot breaks through the soil to the open air above, we say that it's sprouted. Now the plant doesn't need the endosperm anymore because it can make its own food from sunlight. With enough water and sunlight and the right temperature, the young plant will continue to grow, getting bigger and growing more leaves until it's an adult plant and it can produce seeds of its own. Next time you're about to chow down on a handful of sunflower seeds, just think, it's like you've got a whole field of flowers right in your hand. Thanks to our friend Dimitri for asking this great question. And if any of you have a question for any of us here at the fort, let us know by leaving a comment or emailing us at kids@thescishow.com. See you next time, guys.
All right, let's see if you guys noticed some of those cool facts that I noticed about seeds. So the first thing I noticed was that a seed has something called a seed coat. And it's a lot like an armor or shell on top of the seed. And I guarantee you, you may have interacted with a seed coat before. So have you ever eaten sunflower seeds? And isn't there a hard shell on top of the sunflower seed that you usually spit out? That was the seed coat. We eat the inside of a sunflower seed, but we spit out the seed coat. And there's tons of other examples of seed coats, like think about any hard, like a walnut where you have to crack it open, pistachio nut, things like that are all the seed coats. So a lot of times we're dealing with that and we didn't even know it. And I think it was really cool how the video showed us how the seed coat protects the seed because a seed knows when it's the right time to grow and when it's not. So usually when we interact with seeds, it's in things like trail mix or snacks. Those seeds automatically know it's not time to grow. But if we drop those seeds down into the soil, suddenly the plant knows it's time to start growing, which I thought was really awesome. It's like the seed is so smart. So then once the seed is in the soil, we come to the second stage, which is called germination. And you might have heard her use that word in the video. Germination is when the seed actually starts to sprout little tiny roots. And that's a sign that it's beginning to grow. So, what I thought was really cool when she was talking to us about germination was how a seed knows which way is up and which way is down. And how every single time, no matter how you drop your seed into the soil, those roots will always start to grow down. I just think that's so cool. You don't think of a seed being smart, but based on that video, it seems like it is. So the next thing we're going to do is watch a vocabulary video that shares with us the importance of the next parts of the plant that start to grow throughout its life cycle. So in order for a plant to grow and survive, it needs to form first the roots, which usually start to form during germination, and then a stem, then leaves, and then flowers or fruit. If a plant can't develop these next four important parts, the plant won't survive. So let's take a look at the vocabulary video and see exactly how important all four of these parts of a plant are.
Coming soon to a garden near you, a plant's life.
Welcome to the garden with plants full of life. Trees with leaves, flowers that bloom bright. Good morning world, save the plants and the flowers. We're happy in sunshine, we love rain showers. I use my roots to reach below the soil. My roots are like straws, drinking minerals and water deep underneath the plants and the trees. They bring me the nutrients I love and need. My roots are why I don't break or fall over. Even in the wind, I stand tall like a soldier. Once I've had my water, I'm strong in my place. My stem helps the sunlight hit my face. A flower stem is soft, a tree trunk is hard. It keeps me straight, delivers water to my parts. I appreciate the help I get from my leaves. The leaves make the food that every plant and tree needs. It's like a large factory. The sun provides power to the plants, the trees, and also the flowers. Give me lots of sunlight and don't forget the water. Everything I need to shine bright and grow taller. Plants have
Roots, stems, leaves,
many have
fruit, flowers, seeds. A plant's life.
sorta like yours and mine. It needs nutrients, water, and sunshine.
Plants have
Roots, stems, leaves,
many have
fruit, flowers, seeds. A plant's life.
sort of like yours and mine. It needs nutrients, water, and sunshine. Plants want to make more plants all over the globe, so they make it spread seeds for new plants to grow. Seeds can be hard like the pit of a peach, or soft like in the strawberries you eat. Animals eat fruit and spread seeds, and other seeds float out on the breeze. Maple tree seeds spin like a helicopter, and dandelion seeds float away, they go farther. Plants make seeds in the flower, but they need pollination to give them power. That's why flowers attract bees. They pollinate the flower, which becomes something sweet. That's fruit. It holds the seeds. It's the circle of life. Take it from me. Some plants don't flower like moss or ferns. Those are older than the T-Rex. Now you heard. Plants have
Roots, stems, leaves,
many have
fruit, flowers, seeds. A plant's life.
sort of like yours and mine. It needs nutrients, water, and sunshine.
Plants have
Roots, stems, leaves,
many have
fruit, flowers, seeds. A plant's life.
sorta like yours and mine. It needs nutrients, water, and sunshine.
All right, so as you can see, I've put on our Nearpod the same exact anchor chart that I have hanging up behind me. And that's because I really want to review with us all the important parts of a plant. So once germination happens, the seed turns into what we call a seedling right here. As you can see, the seedling has roots and stem. Remember, the roots are very important because they soak up all the water from the soil and they hold the plant in place. A stem is very important because it's that straight structure that allows the plant to grow straight up into the air towards the sun, but it also transports or moves the water from the roots up into the leaves. So then as the plant keeps growing into stage 4, we get more and more leaves. The leaves are getting bigger. And the reason that they want to start to grow bigger is because the leaves are there to absorb all of the sunlight. Remember, the more the leaves, the more sun they're going to get, which means more energy into that plant. And then finally, we move into stage 5, which is the adult plant. As you can see, that's when we start to form flowers. Those flowers may become fruit. And inside those flowers, we get a lot of mixture of pollen, which is pollination, which then forms a whole new seed. And we start the process all over again. So that's how we go from the end of a plant's life cycle back to the beginning where it begins all over again. Now, you can use this anchor chart in order to help you fill out your graphic organizer. So in your lesson plan, your graphic organizer is right here. This is what it looks like. You are responsible for filling in these 1, 2, 3, 4 blank spots. You have a word bank here, and they're the different names or titles we may assign different stages of a plant's life cycle. So you're going to look at the stage, use the picture to help you, and pick what is the best name of that plant's life cycle. So once we're done with that, we are going to, if you need a little extra practice, you can always play the matching game that I have right here on Nearpod. Then you can move on to filling in your observation journal, things that you have learned, things that you have observed this week. If you want to wait to do this part until after the Gizmo Lab, I think that is even better. Just know that this is the last part of the Nearpod. So once you get here, you can press submit and you'll find yourself at the end. So now the last thing we're going to do together is review exactly what to do on our Gizmos lab. So for a lot of you guys, you may need to log into Gizmos through your Clever account. So you go to Clever, you find this little Gizmos icon and you click on it. For many of you, it will take you to this page, or it might take you to a different page where you don't see the germination lab, like this one. It might take you to a screen that looks like this and you don't see germination anywhere. So if that's the case, I'm going to show you exactly how to find our online lab. You're going to click on Find Gizmos, and you're going to type in germination. As you can see, there are 3 different gizmos that come up, and 2 of them have germination in the name. We are focusing on just the one that says just germination, not seed germination, not growing plants, right here in the middle, germination. So when you click on that, it should look like this, where we've got this picture of 3 different trays with seeds in each one. That is the correct gizmo. Once you're there, you can launch your gizmo. All right, so before we start going crazy and pressing all these different things and checking out how different seeds grow, we want to first look at our germination student activity so that we can follow the directions and really try to learn something new through this experiment. So in our lesson plan, you'll see a link to this student exploration germination sheet. I'm going to walk you through the steps of setting up your gizmo, and then you are free to go. So we are almost there. So as you can see, we have a question here up at the top. Every experiment that you do should have what we call a testable question. That means it's a question that we can find or discover the answer through an experiment. So if I were to ask a question like, what is the best ice cream flavor? That's not really a testable question because your favorite flavor of ice cream could be very different than my flavor of ice cream. So instead, our question is, do seeds need water to germinate? So that's a question that we could do an experiment by giving different seeds different amounts of water and actually test to see how much they need. So that's the difference between just a regular question and a testable question. So the first thing we are going to do is form a hypothesis. It says, do seeds need to germinate? Circle what you think below. This is your hypothesis. So remember, a hypothesis is an educated guess about what you think is going to happen during the experiment. So it wouldn't be correct to say if we give seeds water, they'll explode, because we just know that's not true. If it rained and it hit a seed, we would see tons of explosions every time we had just a little drizzle. So we can use our brain to know that's not an educated guess. Thankfully, Gizmos has given us 3 options to pick for our hypothesis. So we can either guess, no, plants need no water, yes, plants need some water, or yes, plants need a lot of water. So before you go and pick your hypothesis, I want you to really think back on what we discussed with the graphic organizer, what we discussed in our videos, and what we discussed when we reviewed our key vocabulary words. Pick your best guess, and let's move on to step 2. Step 2 says set up your gizmo. It says now we will set up a fair test. A test is fair when all conditions are kept the same except the ones that you are testing. In science, this is called a controlled experiment. Now, some of you guys may not have used the word controlled experiment in the past. Some of your teachers may have called this a constant, and that means something very similar. The directions go on to say the conditions that change or varies is the variable being tested. Again, your teachers might have told you that the thing that you change in an experiment is the independent variable. So then it says set up the trays like this. All right, so in our directions, we have our 3 trays. I'm going to read through them, and I immediately see that in each tray, they want seed A. That means we're keeping that the same. We're keeping seed A constant. So let's go to our gizmos, pick up seed A, and put it in each tray. All right, the next thing that they say is how much water we need. So it looks like tray 1 is going to have 0 or no water. Tray 2 is going to have 50 milliliters of water or some water. And tray 3 is going to have 100 milliliters of water or a lot of water. So let's make sure that we go back to our gizmo and we change those things. So this is becoming our independent variable. All right, I look over here at tray 1 and I see this right here is our water gauge. So I'm going to click on this and drag it all the way down to 0. And I know it's at 0 because I have a little measurement marked right there. Tray 2 already looks like we're at 50%, or 50 milliliters, so that's perfect. And then tray 3, we're going to push it all the way up to 100. And you know what? It makes sense that we are changing the water because our testable question was how much water does a seed need to germinate? All right, so as we continue to read what each tray needs, it looks like all 3 lights need to be on and the heat on all 3 needs to be on low. Let's see, all 3 lights are already on, that's perfect, but all of our heat is on medium. So in order to change that, all you have to do is click on the word. So I changed it to high, now it's off, now it's low. So you're just gonna click, 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 and there you go. So now everything in our experiment is constant except the water, which means our water is our independent variable. So then we move on to step 3, which is the experiment section. This is the part you all have been waiting for. It says time to test your hypothesis. Click play to start. When the gizmo stops, count the number of sprouts in each tray and record your data below. So in order to press play, you're going to click on this button here. Now, I'm not going to click play because I want you to see what happens on your own. But this timer is going to start going, and then the whole gizmo will stop automatically. You don't have to click pause. You don't have to click anything. It will stop when it's ready for you to count. So when your gizmo stops, you're going to count each of these seeds, see how many of them have sprouted or germinated and started to form a seedling. Okay? So once you've done that and you've counted, let's say if it's 5, you type in 5. If it's 10, you could type in 10. If it's 20, you type in 20. Okay? Now, if you are not sure how to calculate a percentage, that's totally fine. You can skip this step for now. Or what you could do is, if you want to listen really quickly, I can explain it really fast, but you are going to divide your first number by your second number and then multiply it by 100. And that should give you your percentage. All right, so then the last thing you are going to do, step 4, is going to talk to you or is going to tell you that you can now go back, clear your trays, and you can do your same test with seeds B or seed C. Now, keep in mind, the only thing that we're changing or our only variable is the water. So if you want to test what happens to seed B, you should put seed B in all 3 trays. If you want to test what happens with seed C, make sure you keep them constant, which means seed C should be put in all 3 of your trays. That's really important. That'll keep your experiment fair, and that'll give you the best results. Okay, so then the last thing it asks you to do is draw a conclusion. It says, in general, do seeds need water to germinate? Explain. So you're going to look at the data that you collected. You're going to look at the results, basically what happened, and decide what amount of water is best for these seeds. Do seeds not need any water? Do they need some water? Or do they need a lot of water? Write down or type in exactly what you think you saw right here. Now, here's the thing. At this point, we shouldn't even be thinking about our hypothesis anymore. The only thing that we should be thinking about is, did we learn something? Yes, you could say my hypothesis was wrong or my hypothesis was right, but that's not really the important part. I've done so many experiments in the past that all my hypotheses have been wrong, and it's totally fine. I actually like it better when my hypothesis is wrong because that means I learned something new after doing the experiment. So I don't want you guys typing in my experiment was right or my hypothesis was right, my hypothesis was wrong. Instead, I want you just to focus on what you saw happen, okay? I really hope that you guys enjoy your experiment. I can't wait to see all the cool information that you guys learn. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with, and I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the lesson, everyone. Bye.